Well, after that catastrophe, Mark and Sally packed up and went home and left me here to have a good long think about what I'd done. And I did. There's two issues here. One is that this bottom ram is a replacement for the original, and because I couldn't get the exact match, I got one that's obviously slightly weaker. Now that wouldn't be an issue had I put it up the top. So what I'm going to do is buy another one of these, because that's all I can get hold of. So I'll buy another one of the one that failed, but I'm going to put it on the top there, and the top one I'm going to put there. So I'll have the strongest ram in that position there. The top ram can never be subjected to the same forces that managed to bend this one. The other issue is that because it's set up as a digger, that's what it is, when you try and use it as a crane, you're unable to use the strongest part of the mechanism, because this ram here has to be at full extension before you can do any lifting. So all the lifting has to be done with the dipper, with this arm here. And obviously if you're holding a weight, the further out from yourself you're holding a weight, the harder it is to hold. And that's what's happening here. Now it might be apparent that I've overloaded the machinery, and well, obviously I have, but it's not. That's not normally a problem. The reason I say that is because every time you use the digger, you overload it in a sense, because if I'm grabbing into the soil and then trying to pull it towards me, if I grab too much, it doesn't break, it just overloads and the bypass valve actuates. So anything here that's overstressed, the bypass valve should actuate, and then it's no longer pulling on that thing. You'll hear a squealing noise and it can't overexert itself basically. What's happened here, I would say, is akin to breaking your leg. So if you think it's the same sort of thing when you try and lift something, some enormous weight, you just shouldn't be able to do it. You don't just carry on lifting until your bones snap. Same with this. What's happened here is an unexpected event. So I've taken up all the pressure, which would have been too much, but instead of lifting it out like that, I've tried to pull up the whole thing backwards using the 3-point linkage piston, I think, is what's happened, and I've pulled it there. And because this ram here was at full extension, it's then bent. It's gone past its elastic limit quite considerably, and that happened. The upshot is then that I'm going to take the strongest ram I've got, which is the one up there, put it there where that one failed, but I'm also going to take the dipper arm off. It should be able to lift a lot more, plus it won't have the weight of the dipper arm hanging off the end of it. It's worth a try. Of course the other obvious solution would be to fix the front loader and use that, but I'm quite reluctant to do that. For one, it had burst a pipe, a steel pipe that goes all the way around the front of it, and that's going to be tricky to replace, but mainly because the front loader, unlike the digger on the back, the front loader works off the tractor hydraulics, and the tractor hydraulics are really sketchy. I will replace them at some point. I have a spare scrap tractor, or bits of one, and I think I've got all the bits to replace the hydraulics, but it's a major mission and I don't want to do it just yet. If I have to, I will, but at the moment I don't think it's worth sorting out the front loader and putting it on, just because I think the tractor hydraulics are so dodgy. It's not even that they're weak, although they are weak, they're weaker than they should be. It's just that there's so much crossover between different services that it means that when you try and do one thing, you end up doing several. Yeah, unreliable hydraulics are just, you know, an excitement I can do without. Well, so that's the next job. Take off this arm, swap the rams around, get back over there and try again. must admit I'm quite surprised how much that bent ram straightened out there just by using it like that. I'm not convinced it's going to be usable again, but I might try it. In a more or less controlled descent. That bit should be there, but because of the pipework on this ram, the only place to put it was down here. Now what that means is I've got to take off this part and remount it here. So the whole digger has two settings. You can set it for depth or for reach, and I had it set for reach. Putting it down there might result, the geometry might result in a stronger lift, but it's definitely going to result in less lift, which may make this entire thing completely redundant. If we can't get the engine high enough out the sill, then there's no point lifting it at all. Never simple, is it? Ugh. Well, that was unpleasant. Ugh. And there we have a lifting crane.
Absolutely right though, on all accounts it was made of something Russian and it wasn't supposed to bend like that. At least I landed on my feet. First of many sessions, I'm sure. It's going to take a while to clean this bloody thing.
It's quite a good jet wash, but even so, I may well hire an even more powerful one to get through. Probably help getting rid of some of the paint as well. It's a start. Taking plenty of pictures for reference when we come to put this thing back together in the Zil. So yeah, I've learned something over the years. This all makes sense now. Once you pull it all apart and then try and put it back together, not so much. Especially when you've got to customise everything to fit in a place where it wasn't supposed to go. We're at the rear of the engine then. And here we've got this is where the air goes in through this tube into the turbo. This tube will be going, but obviously the turbo will be staying. So I'll disconnect these unions here. This is the air that goes to the air compressor, so I'll take out that bit for now. This is the linkage, the gear stick linkage. Obviously it's no good right there, it's going to stick through the front of the bonnet. We want it to be about here. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, trying to make something work here. There seems people have struggled with this on the other Zil conversions, so we'll see what we can come up with. The mounting then is pretty much the same as the Zil. You've got the bell housing here, which holds the clutch. It'll be somewhere in there between the engine and the gearbox. And it's just two rear mounts, which this setup is exactly the same as the Zil's. The difference is at this end, where you've got two engine mounts, whereas the Zil had one central mount. I'm going to try and use this. The chassis rails are the same, so I'm hoping I can either use these brackets or make some up to fit on the Zil, and we'll try and use this system with the two front mounts. So I think it's going to be stronger, more stable, less wibblier. The original plan was always to split the engine and gearbox on the DAF and lift them out separately, partly because then it's going to be lighter for the crane to manage, and partly because we need to split them anyway to change the clutch, because the clutch is knackered on this. I'm thinking that's the reason it was up for sale. Yeah, which is fine for us because it's easy to change the clutch when the engine's out. Hopefully that was it and there wasn't anything more serious, right? Because I don't think we can take it back now.